So, as I said, good evening, everyone. Colin McNamee is my name. I'm the operations manager with the IMVO. Just the outline, I'm going to speak for probably about 40 minutes or thereabouts. And initially, just as Leonie said, we're going to keep everybody on mute for the moment. If you do have questions, please put them into the chat or into Q&A, and we'll deal with them at the end of the presentation. I'm going to talk about scanning and alerts, NMVS alerts, which is our alert management system. Then I'll hand over to Leonie, who will talk about just some key updates and reminders now that we've exited Use and Learn, and she'll conclude. And then, as I said, we'll do some Q&A if anybody has any questions or needs any assistance or clarification. So there's also some backup slides. This slide deck will be circulated after it'll be circulated in the morning. And those backup slides will contain a glossary, some details of level 1 to 5 classification of alerts and exceptions, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. Accessing information with opcodes, so how you actually use your FMD software to get information, and then a summary of the IMVO alert management guidance. So to start and talk about scanning and alerts, and for those of you who are working in pharmacy settings over the course of the last couple of years, you'll be very familiar that when you verify or decommission a pack, your FMD software displays a response which contains text. And since the 28th of February, that response is also color-coded, green, amber, or red, depending on the outcome of the scan. So an amber or red response indicate that there is some form of mismatch between the information from the scan and what is in the IMVS. And what that means essentially is the data that your scanner has taken off the pack is transmitted using the FMD software, and basically polls or asks our database in the IMVS, which is fed from an EMVS, a European hub, with all the data associated with that pack. And the 4 pieces of data are the human readable text that you'll see beside a 2D barcode. And if you get an amber or red response, what that means is what your scanner has read and what is actually in the database, there's some sort of a mismatch or difference between the two. If you do, so not all of the red or amber responses represent potential falsifications, only level 5 alerts. And as I said, in the backup slides, there's more detail of level 1 to 5 of our alerts. But basically a level 5 alert, what it means is, as a result of the mismatch that has been identified, there is a degree of risk associated with a potential falsification. And those alerts will include the words, an alert has been raised in your FMD software. And it will also have a unique alert ID. And you'll see an example of one there on the screen. Starts with the letters IE, because that would represent the majority of our alerts, which would be generated in the Irish IE market. And then a string of alphanumeric characters, creating that unique identification code. Level 5 alerts, as I said, those at risk of potential falsification, are automatically notified to ourselves in IMVO, to the MAH, or the market authorization holder for the product, and to the HPRA. Level 5 alerts must be investigated to rule out falsification. So that, as we've exited Use and Learn, a level 5 alert must be investigated and the root cause identified to rule out falsification before that pack can be supplied. So some examples of level 5 alerts. And these are just the more common examples that we find. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a series of alert messages that can be generated by the system. The batch isn't found. So the likely root cause of an alert like that is either the scanner or software has malfunctioned in some way, and essentially the string of characters associated with the batch ID that has been scanned does not match that is within the database. Or, and it does happen, although much less frequently over the course of the last 6 months, the data may not actually be uploaded by the MAH. So if the data hasn't been put in the database by the market authorization holder on behalf of the manufacturer, obviously when you go and look for that batch information and it's not there, that's going to give a level 5 alert to say that that batch has not been found. If the pack has not been found or a serial number is unknown, most likely that's going to be a scanner or software issue. So the batch, what that means is the batch is there, It's just the serial number associated with the pack that's been scanned isn't there. And most frequently, we would see that as being a scanner or software issue, although there is the potential that the data might not be uploaded by the MAH. It's highly unlikely, although it does occur sometimes where when they're uploading a batch, there could be some degree of error associated with the upload. So not every serial number for every pack in that batch is actually in the database. Much more common alerts, particularly at end user level, are where the pack has already been decommissioned in another location. We'd find them largely with procedural errors, where the pack has been decommissioned and received from another pharmacy or a wholesaler. It does happen particularly with borrowings. So if you've borrowed a pack, it's important for you to understand, has that pack actually been decommissioned by the pharmacy that you borrowed it from? So we see that in at borrowings between different pharmacies in the same locality or different pharmacies within a group. We do sometimes see the pack has already been decommissioned by the wholesaler. Would happen more frequently as a result of wholesalers and using aggregation errors, just particularly when it comes to delivery of packs to hospitals. The pack could already be decommissioned, so a bulk or a split pack. Usually it's a procedural error, whereby it's very important if you are scanning a bulk or split pack, it's only scanned the first time it's actually used, because every time you scan it thereafter, it will cause an alert because it's saying that the pack has already been decommissioned. Alternatively, that could of course be a scanner or software issue, but from our experience, we would say that the pack already decommissioned is the most likely outcome. A batch ID mismatch, again, where there's an issue associated with the actual batch identifier. And again, scanner or software issue is normally where that data gets just mixed up by the scanner or software. What do you do next if you get those type of alerts? So you will get a message linked from your FMD, within your FMD software. It's going to give you a series of pieces of information, and included in that information is going to be a link to the IMVO alert help page. And it's going to bring you that link. If you click on that link within the FMD software, it will bring you to a help page absolutely designed to assist you in identifying the root cause and solving the problem of the alert that is in front of you, so that you can get that pack back to saleable stock. If you can't identify the root cause, set the pack aside until you're informed of the outcome of the MAH's investigation. And I'll talk about how that investigation works in a moment. You must keep the pack in the pharmacy or hospital until the MAH or the HPRA advises you on what to do next. And obviously, if in doubt, you can contact IMVO if you need any further assistance, and we go through our new extended contact service hours at the very end of the presentation. I mentioned some types of non-level 5 exceptions. So these are exceptions that, whilst not associated entirely with the potential for a falsification, they will flag an alert that does have to be managed or handled in order for you to ensure that the pack can be provided for saleable stock. So the product code may not be known. And we do see these particularly on barcodes on non-FMD packs, if they were scanned, such as medical devices, over-the-counter medicine, and ULMs from outside the EU. And we will talk particularly about ULMs later on in the presentation. The batch may have been recalled. So if that recall is down to pharmacy level and the pack has been recalled, obviously it's a safety mechanism built into the system to flag that the pack has been recalled and cannot be supplied. The pack cannot be reactivated. The time limit has been exceeded. So if you decommission a pack within the pharmacy that you're working in, and for some reason the script isn't collected by the patient, you have only 10 days to reactivate the pack from the time it has been decommissioned for supply. So if you go outside of that 10-day window and the pack is still in a supplied state, it cannot be reactivated and put back in an active state and therefore rescanned for supply at a later occasion. Or the pack cannot be reactivated as it was decommissioned in another location. So what that means, and again, for example, the borrowings example that I mentioned, if you got a pack from another pharmacy and it had been decommissioned before you got it, you can't reactivate that, even if it is within the 10-day window. The pack can only be reactivated at the location that it was decommissioned in. So, for example, in that situation, it could, if it was within the 10 days, go back to where you borrowed it from and reactivate it. Alternatively, you could just confirm with that site that they, or with that pharmacy, that they haven't indeed decommissioned it as a procedural error. You know that that's the case. Therefore, you've identified the root cause of the alert, so the pack can be supplied. So what do you do next? Exactly the same. Within the alert window on your FMD software, there'll be a link to the IMVO alert help, and you can contact IMVO alternatively if you need any further assistance. But in our experience, the IMVO alert help will solve most of your, or will answer most of the questions. So I'm talking about alerts, and think about how often did pharmacies get level 5 alerts in May, so last month. So we looked at the data over the course of the last month, and essentially 50% of pharmacies had 0 alerts last month. You can see that goes up in the 60th percentile. They got 1 alert through the month, 70th percentile 1, 80th percentile 2, and in the 90th percentile, so 90% of pharmacies got 5 or fewer alerts during the month of May, which is essentially just over 1 a week as the max. So on that basis, and certainly our experience is telling us that when the procedures are stuck to and there's well executed SOPs within the pharmacy, the alerts are actually very, very, very low. So you can see that on a graph. We've just over 1,800 pharmacies registered, and you can see there during the month of May, over 850. So just over half of them got no alerts at all. And you can see that goes on. So by the time we get to 4 or 5 alerts, we've effectively catered for 1,700 pharmacies who got 5 or fewer alerts during the month of May. When you see sort of numbers increasing to the right, realistically what we're looking at is some form of software malfunction where a large volume of alerts has been generated at a single location. So in terms of how we actually manage these alerts, so IMVO has issued alert management guidance, and it defines the high-level alert handling processes for pharmacies, hospitals, and wholesalers, who are our end users collectively, the MAHs, market authorization holders, and the IMVO. They're drawn up following consultation with stakeholders, the HPRA and the PSI, and is aligned with EMBO's best practice on alert handling, and there'll be a link in the slide that could bring you to that if you wanted to follow that up. The key principle underpinning the guidance is that the alert does not mean that a pack is definitely falsified, as alerts can arise due to technical, procedural, or system issues. The objective is to ensure alerts can be quickly investigated and closed out if a root cause is found, enabling the pack to be supplied or returned to saleable stock as soon as possible. And a summary of the guidance is included in the backup slides. Our alert help pages, which I've referred to already on our website, which are linked directly from the FMD software, are based on the guidance and should be the first point of reference when investigating the alert, as the information provided is tailored to the relevant alert type. So what that means is instead of having to go and read the alert management guidance, if you click on the link, it will bring you to the very specific piece of the alert management guidance associated with the alert that you've experienced. So how are alerts investigated? So end users and MAHs initiate simultaneous investigations of alerts generated in the pharmacy or hospital. The pharmacy or hospital should look for procedural errors. For example, the pack has been decommissioned twice, the error is documented, and the pack can be supplied so long as there's no reason to suspect it's falsified. Or technical issues like scanner or software problems, where alert relates to a data mismatch and the procedural error has been ruled out. Again, once that's been fixed, you can verify the pack doing a verification scan, and if that verification scan is successful, the pack can be supplied. At the same time, we mentioned that the MAH is initiating a simultaneous investigation. They're looking for data issues, missing data and other system issues. They're not required to investigate certain alert types for example, the double decommissions, because our experience will show that the root cause of those types of alerts is generally at end user side. And then how do you, as the pharmacist dealing with the alert, know what the issue is? So the exception or alert message in your FMD software will, as I said, give you a high-level summary of what has happened and provide a link to an alert help page in the IMVO website to assist you in identifying a root cause for the alert and providing guidance on how to fix it if it's something under your control, such as a scanner, software, or procedural issue. IMVO also monitors the IMVS for large numbers of alerts, unusual patterns of alerts by product, by batch, or by end user location, and we'll contact you or the MAH or your FMD software provider as appropriate to take action to prevent further alerts. The objective here is to ensure that issues leading to large numbers of alerts in given end user locations or in a particular batch are quickly identified and resolved. So we have spike alert monitors in our system, which will tell us very quickly if something is going wrong at a particular location, and we'll reach out immediately to that location to try and assist. So the next steps. The IMVO are required to step in if there's no feedback from the end user or the MAH within 2 working days and ensure that the alert is investigated if not already done. If the end user or MAH does not provide the required assistance or information to enable the investigation to be completed, the IMVO is required to escalate this to the PSI or HPRA as appropriate. But obviously we have a number of communication steps with the end user or MAH before that would come into effect. So to discuss then the life cycle of a scan now that we're out of use and learn. So you're in your dispensary, you're scanning a pack to supply it or dispense. And when you click on the scan, if your FMD software gives back a green message, good to go, and the pack can be supplied. If it offers back an amber message, what that means is there's just something not quite right associated with the pack. And you need to just pause and check the alert. So when you check the alert, again, you just click on the alert help link in the IMVO, which will allow you get straight to the IMVO help page, which will get you directly to the IMVO alert help associated with that particular type of alert. And that will go through a yes/no process, which will allow you quickly identify a root cause if it is at end user level, which will allow you make your decision to supply or withhold the pack. And I'll do a walkthrough exactly what that alert code, alert help looks like in a couple of moments. If you get a red alert, that means there is some degree of mismatch associated with the data within the system. You need to stop because that alert needs to be checked and investigated prior to a pack being supplied. So the first thing on the top row, you will see exactly the same. The alert information and the operational code comes through your FMD software with the link to the IMVO alert help. You click on that link, you get to the IMVO alert help. Like I said, I'll walk through that in a second. And you apply the guidance. Basically, you go through a series of yes/no questions, which will get you to the point that you can either identify the root cause or you can't. And that allows you to make your decision to get the pack back into supply or the pack needs to be withheld. Within a couple of minutes of that alert happening, an email is sent from NMVS Alerts, which is our alert management system, with a one-time link to the alert and all the data associated with that alert within our alert management system. And when you have got to the point up here in the red triangle or the red diamond to make your decision as to identifying the root cause and applying the guidance, the alert management system allows you to document the root cause in NMVS Alerts in order to make a record of the rationale behind your decision to supply the pack, or to see has the IMVO or the MAH identified an issue at their level where they can assist and actually provide you with the information you require to make your decision to supply the pack. So what does it look like from the alert help point of view? And I'm just going to walk through a pack has already been marked as supplied. So basically, when you get an alert to say that the pack has already been marked as supplied, and you click on the link within your FMD software, it'll bring you to this green box here. And what that's saying is you're in our alert help, and these instructions will help you identifying the root cause. So the first question you're going to be asked is, has this pack been decommissioned on your behalf by the wholesaler or pharmacy you received it from? And we know that with very limited exceptions, it's highly unlikely that that would be the case. So in this instance, I click no, that's not what has happened. That automatically brings me on to another question. Have you previously decommissioned this pack at your location? So in this instance, we need to consider, is this is there procedural error? Have we just scanned this a couple of times in error? Or is it a bulk or split pack that we know was scanned and decommissioned the first time it was used? So in this instance, I've clicked yes, that was the case. And the message that gives back to you is, this is a double dispense. Each pack must only be decommissioned once, including bulk or split packs. These should only be decommissioned when first opened. If you're certain that you made a procedural error, the investigation is complete. You should document the root cause of the alert in NMVS alerts, and you may return the pack to saleable stock. If I had said no to have you previously decommissioned this pack at your location, the next question you're asked is this a borrowed pack? And as we do see happens, if the pack is a borrowed pack, and I've clicked yes, again, the text will bring you to the point where it will say, if you know the pack was decommissioned at the location you borrowed it from, you must document the root cause of the alert in NMVS alerts. Once the root cause is documented, the investigation is complete, and you may return the pack to saleable stock. You can contact IMVO for support with this alert if you don't know if the pack was previously decommissioned at the location you borrowed it from. And just from a procedural point of view, we would recommend, if you are taking a pack or borrowing a pack from another location, conduct a verification scan when you receive it first, because that'll tell you, is the pack in an active state or has it already been supplied or decommissioned? And if it has been decommissioned, at least then you can make a quick call to the people that you borrowed it from to go, by any chance, has this been decommissioned in error? And when they say it, or if they say yes, it has, then that is your root cause. You know, you actually don't need to scan it at all because it is a decommissioned pack already, and it can just be supplied. If I had said no, it wasn't a borrowed pack, then the alert management guidance requires you to withhold the pack from saleable stock, set the pack aside, and contact IMVO for support with this alert. The pack may not be placed back into saleable stock until the alert investigation is complete and falsification has been ruled out. Please document the source of this pack in NMVS alerts. And we've been working with a couple of alerts of this type over the course of this week. And what we can do is very quickly identify by going into the system where that pack may have been decommissioned already. And sometimes if it's at another location, or if it's, for example, a wholesaler error, we can actually assist in contacting the wholesaler, confirming that's the root cause, and getting that information back to the pharmacy or the hospital to get that pack into supply as soon as possible. So communicating during alert investigations. So as I said, you cannot supply a pack with a level 5 alert unless it has been fully investigated and a root cause has been found and falsification ruled out. If you find a root cause, the MAH needs to be made aware of this so they can stop looking for a data or IMVS issue. If you can't find a root cause at pharmacy or hospital level, you'll need to know what the outcome of the MAH's investigation is. If your investigation and that of the MAH do not reveal a root cause for the alert, the MAH may sometimes want to request a photo of the pack from you, and they'll give you feedback on their findings. If the photo of the pack is not sufficient to confirm the pack is genuine, the MAH may ask for the pack to be returned for examination. And it's the MAH that will tell you how to do this, and Leonie will cover that towards the end of the presentation. So communicating continued. As I mentioned, we use NMVS alerts as our alert management system, and the alert management guidance strongly recommends the use of NMVS alerts by all parties involved in an alert. That's the end user, MAH, and the IMVO, as this greatly simplifies handling of alerts for all parties and speeds up resolution, minimizing the impact on patient supply. If a pharmacy chooses not to use NMVS alerts, communications will have to take place with other parties by email or phone. This is not recommended as it will significantly slow the speed of the investigation in those cases. In this situation, INVO will act as a postman between the MAH and end user for email communications to maintain end user anonymity. So moving then briefly to NMVS alerts. So it's a collaborative web-based tool available 24/7, which provides the overview of the status of alerts based on information entered by the end user, the MAH, and/or IMVO. It facilitates efficient handling of alerts by allowing end users, MAHs, and IMVO to quickly communicate with other parties about an alert while preserving end user anonymity vis-a-vis the MAH, which is a core principle of EMVS and something we're always required to maintain. It also provides you with an opportunity to maintain a record of your own actions or findings for each alert, which is a very useful backup when you decide to supply the pack. And again, it can provide a link to allow you to upload a pack to NMVS alerts. How do you access it? So pharmacies, and obviously the pharmacies that you may be working in, have two options. They can set up a full account, which is free, and basically what that does is allow the pharmacy login to see a list of all their own level 5 alerts or report any information they have to add about the alert. Or alternatively, and as we mentioned, within a couple of minutes of an alert, users get an email, and when a level 5 alert is generated in your FMD software, that automated email will be issued to the end user with a link directly into that alert. So it's not necessary to have an account in NMVS alerts to receive or access the link. And again, that link can be used to report information about the alert, send a photograph or something, or any other information that is requested. So what does it look like? This is what the email itself actually looks like. It'll come from IMVO. The title will be an alert status change. And you'll just see there, obviously, as we mentioned, the unique alert ID. And in this instance, it's an Irish market alert starting with the letters IE. You've been asked to investigate the alert. And if you click here, that will bring you directly into the alert information. So this is the page of the alert information at end user level, at pharmacy level. So this is what you would see if you click on the link. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see just data associated with the alert. And then here is where some information can be uploaded to if you identify the root cause. So just to split that screen into two, this is the type of information you get on the data side. And really it's just, the type of error. The pack has already been decommissioned, when and the date, the time it happened, the product name, product code, serial numbers, if the wholesaler is known who the wholesaler is, the batch, the expiry date, etc. So all the information associated with the alert. And then in this page, so this is the window where when we talk about recording the root cause or documenting the root cause of the alert, it's really, really simple. So I spoke about two main types of end user alerts: technical error, something wrong with my scanner or my software, or procedural error. I'm after scanning it twice, or it was a borrowed pack and we know it was scanned already at the location we borrowed it from. If that's the case, and you've identified that as part of your investigation, you simply need to click on the technical error box or the procedural error box to say that that's the type of alert. That is the root cause, and that's the type of alert that we're dealing with. Pack returned would only ever be ticked when the pack has been returned at the request of the MAH, which is well down the road in terms of an investigation. And other is if you don't know it's a technical or procedural error, you click other because perhaps you haven't been able to identify the root cause. You can click that the alert is under investigation, because that flags to us that a pharmacy is actually actively engaged in NMVS alerts. So they click under investigation, and then you can just put in a couple of lines or a line of text to say this pack was double decommissioned, it was scanned a number of times in error, and that's it. You click on the save button, which is here, and that is all aspects of the pharmacist's interaction with the system to document the root cause done in, like I said, you click one of these three boxes, you click under investigation, you insert a couple of words, you click save, and that's it. It's that simple and that quick. If you are asked to upload a photograph of a pack, you'd simply click on the photo icon here, or if you were asked to upload any other information, that can be done there. Down here, you'll see the NMVO, in our case, Ireland, the Irish Medicines Verification Organisation, and you can see different messages. So in this instance, it could be under investigation, would be amber, or it could be closed, which would be green. And then the MAH. So as I said, sometimes if you don't know the root cause, the NMVO or the MAH may have identified a root cause and actually may have uploaded the information before you get to NMVS alerts. So same type of window for the NMVO, but you might see that they could say that it's under investigation, or they could say that it's closed, and they could put in a piece of text to say, for example, we know that alerts are being associated with this pack because it's unlicensed medicine and the pack can be supplied. And if you read that in the NMVO page, that would allow you make your decision to get that pack back to saleable stock or to supply. Same for the MAH. Again, they may know there's data or batch issues associated with it, and as a result, they're in a position to say that it's closed, and they may be in a position to provide some degree of comment. But it's very important that if you read that comment, that allows you make your decision to get that pack back to saleable stock. So that's all I wanted to talk about alerts and scanning. I'm now going to hand you back to Leonie, who's going to talk about key updates and reminders associated with what we've learned over the course of the last number of weeks as we exited Use and Learn, and then she'll bring you into a summary and conclusion. I'm sorry, I don't seem, perhaps Leonie's having a technical issue. So what I'm going to do is, until she reconnects, I'm just going to keep going on key updates and reminders.
And I actually wasn't, apologies, I just had some technical issues there.
Oh, there you
back.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Okay, so just very briefly, we just want to give you a quick update on the advice that we've issued about exempt medicinal products or unlicensed medicines, or ULMs as they're sometimes called, where we sometimes see these medicines coming in with 2D barcodes on the pack. Now, the advice that's been issued here for these, and this has been agreed with the HPRA, is if you know when you're handling the pack that it's an unlicensed medicine, don't scan it. And the reason for that is that even though there's a 2D barcode on it, the IMVS may not recognize the pack, and you get a product not found alert in that situation. So it might be, for example, we've seen some of the early COVID vaccines from the US had 2D barcodes on them. There are packs coming in from the UK that have 2D barcodes but have no data uploaded. So they will generate alerts if you scan them. If you do scan an unlicensed medicine and you do get an alert, now some you will scan and they're fine, particularly the ones sourced within the EU. Many of those will be fine, but some of them you will scan and you will get alerts. The advice is you can go ahead and supply that pack, and it really is the same as we would have had during the Use and Learn period. So you can supply the pack unless you have any overriding concerns that the pack may be falsified or believe that it has been interfered with. So say you look at the anti-tamper device and that looks like it's been interfered with. Similarly, if the pack message returned to you on screen says the pack is expired, recalled, withdrawn, stolen, or destroyed, well then obviously you cannot supply that pack. We've just already mentioned the point about checking the anti-tamper device. If you spot a faulty anti-tamper device that looks like it's been interfered with, please report that to the HPRA's product quality defect and don't supply the pack, even if you did scan the pack and it scanned fine. Next slide, please. Okay, we just want to mention specifically the Utrogestin 100 and 200 milligram capsules, and there's two batches of each of these presentations that we want to talk to you about. These are HRT products that have been sourced in the French packs. They've been sourced outside Ireland, obviously in response to the huge shortage of HRT that's going on at the moment. And unfortunately, these packs will generate alerts when you scan them. Now, the reason for that is it relates to actions undertaken with these packs before they arrived in Ireland, which they were correctly scanned and marked as exported. The problem is if you scan them here, you will get alerts. So the advice here is if you scan and receive alerts with these packs, you can go ahead and supply them unless you've overridden concerns the pack may have been falsified, which we consider probably unlikely. So generally, with all unlicensed medicines, avoid scanning these packs if possible. And again, just to remind you, if you do spot that there's something wrong with the anti-tamper device, this should be reported to the HPRA, and obviously don't supply the pack. Next slide, please. We just want to mention a specific issue we've seen with people accessing the IMBO alert help pages from their FMD software. And in fact, we're really pleased with the large numbers of people who are looking at those pages. But we know that when people try to do this for Internet Explorer, the web browser, they run into problems. And that's actually a browser that's now effectively been phased out. It's no longer supported from, I think, from tomorrow. So you will be able to continue to use it, but if you do use it to try and access our help pages, you will run into problems with it, and you may find that with other websites as well. So the workaround to this is basically just use a different browser such as Chrome, Microsoft Edge, or Firefox. It's just to flag that issue. One of the things that has been said was that people intended to return packs with alerts to wholesalers. So we had a discussion with the HPRA about this, and they've indicated that packs that have generated alerts must not be returned by pharmacies or hospital to wholesalers while the alert investigation is ongoing, because as they make the point, these packs could be falsified. Now I know it's a remote possibility, but putting them back into the supply chain is not the way to deal with them. So this applies even if you've ruled out a technical or procedural error in your part. So you may have concluded, well, the software was fine, the scanner was fine, we didn't do anything from a procedural point of view that caused this alert, and you're left with the pack. In this situation, you will have to wait for the marketing authorization holder to come back to you, for us to come back and tell you what the position is with the pack. Now, we would anticipate all of that happening very quickly, and you're not going to be waiting very long for that feedback. If it's the case that the MAH, so I suppose just to use some terminology to make sure you're all aware, MAH obviously means marketing authorization holder, the manufacturer. So basically, if your investigation and their investigation, neither of you can find any obvious root causes. So there's no data issue, there's no software issue, there's no scanner issue, there's no procedural problems. At that point, the MAH may want to get the pack back to investigate it. They will provide the details of the process for sending back the pack. Now, they'll do it via NMS alerts, but if necessary, we would email you directly if we're finding no pickup on the instruction in NMS alerts. If they ask for this pack to be sent back via wholesaler, please don't send it back via standard business return, as it has to go into a separate product quality complaint process by the wholesaler, and it's a completely separate process to the normal returns process. However, if you're in the situation where the MAH wants the pack back, they will give you very precise instructions, so you know exactly what to do to avoid any problems. Next slide, please. Next slide, Colin, please. Okay, should you report alerts to the HPRA? So no, the general rule is that you don't report alerts to the HPRA. What will happen is, if after all the investigation has been completed, the pack is found to be a confirmed falsification, the MAH they will be responsible for notifying the HPRA. But we've already mentioned a couple of times, if you scan a pack and the pack scans found that the anti-tamper device has been interfered with, then you do need to report that to the HPRA. That may be a product quality complaint. So just to be clear, alerts don't report to HPRA. Problem with the anti-tampering device, do report to the HPRA. And one thing I forgot to mention, sorry, on the previous slide was the MAH, before they ask you to send back the pack, they may well ask for some photos of the pack. And we see this quite a lot. And actually, sometimes the photos are enough to confirm that the pack is fine and actually save the pack having to go back and effectively having ultimately to be destroyed because it will be analysed and sent back. So if you are asked for photos, we would appreciate your support in providing those photos, because they're often the key to getting things sorted out very quickly. If you want then comment to the conclusion slide, please. Okay, so really as a locum, and we've given you a huge amount of information today, and I know when I did a lot of locums myself many years ago, in pharmacist myself, and I did lots of locums many years ago. A lot of them I only did one day here and there, I did half days here and there, I did evening times when I was doing postgrad work. Other times I did a full week. So obviously the obligations that apply to a full week are probably more extensive that you're going to see in a particular day. So What we want to do is give you a full picture of what's involved, and obviously then really it's when you go into do a locum. The key thing is that you are aware of the FMD policies and SOPs in the pharmacy you're operating with. The PSI expects locums to operate in the shoes of the pharmacist that they're replacing, to carry out all the things that the pharmacist would be expected to do. And particularly if you're there for several days, the expectation is that you will need to get involved in the alert investigation side of things. And just again, be careful to avoid alerts. You know, that's really the best way to manage alerts, is to avoid them in the first place. One of the things we just want to flag to is that while the basics of how the FMD software is connected to the IMDS is the same, how that FMD software looks, a bit like the pharmacy dispensing systems, the different systems look different and different pharmacies are using different systems. So when you go into a pharmacy on a given day, make sure you're familiar with the specifics of the one that you're using to ensure that you don't generate any avoidable errors, and to make sure you're scanning everything correctly. So that would be something just to check with the pharmacy before you do a locum. What software are you using? If it's one you're not familiar with, maybe ask them to give you a demo before, and you maybe just come in for 15 minutes, give you a quick run through it before you do the locum. Really important to intensify alerts due to software scanning procedural issues. Again, this is a really big point. Preventing alerts is the easiest way to handle alerts because it really reduces the workload. Make sure your scanners are working. If you spot something odd going on with the scanner, you know, if you're stuck, do give us a ring. Now, we don't provide support for individual farmers, but we may be able to point you in the right direction. Have a look at our website. Keep an eye out if there's software issues. So if something odd looks like going on with the software, if you see that there are upgrades needed when you're doing the locum, make sure you run those upgrades. And if you don't know how to do them, maybe talk to one of the team. If there's a technician who may be able to help you. If there's a software issue, again, be familiar with, well, who's the software provider, so we can give them a call. And again, just keep an eye out for double decommissioners. So, you know, just be careful that you're not doing them routinely in packs that you're dispensing from in a number of times, or packs borrowed from other pharmacies or hospitals. Next slide, please. Become familiar with NMBS alerts, because that will look the same in every pharmacy. So if you're used to clicking on those links and accessing those emails, that's really helpful for us if you can help progress those alert investigations. Now again, keep in mind you will actually get very few alerts, so you would see very few alerts, and as a locum you may never see alerts given the very small numbers that we do see in most pharmacies. Contact us if you need help with anything. We've asked pharmacists to give us a generic email address for alert communications, and I think it's important to make sure that when you go into the pharmacy, you know what that one is. And then just in general terms, if you've got any feedback on how we can improve the process, please do let us know. Now, I think one thing we do get feedback on is please have all the scanning done by wholesalers, or please allow pharmacists to do scanning, because it's unfortunately that's not within our gift. That's part of European law, so we can't change those requirements. Wholesalers don't scan every pack. The requirement is on pharmacies to do scanning and decommission, and in the case of community pharmacies, that has to be done at the point of dispensing. Hospitals have a bit more flexibility, again under European law, to carry that out earlier after the medicines arrive in the hospitals. So we can't, unfortunately, give any derogations from those requirements. So just to summarize, if the scanner and software working as they should, and you take care to avoid double decommission of the procedural alerts, you will get very few indeed no alerts. If you do get an 11.5 alert, very quickly you'll be able to work out if something's going on. So if you find something with your scanner or your software, and again, if it's a good technician who's very familiar with all of this, they may be able to identify the problem straight away. Once you're able to sort that out and fix it, then you can verify the pack again and you can supply it. If you find a procedure alert, so you know, for example, you accidentally scanned the pack twice, or you scanned a pack that was already marked as open on the shelf, you took it down and you scanned it and then getting that alert. Just document your rationale for the alert. Now, if you're not getting into any of these alerts, it would be important to put a note down in the pharmacy notebook of anything that happens in the FMD front, so that the pharmacist, when they come back, and see what you've been doing. If the alert is due to a data error, these are relatively few and far between. Either ourselves at the NIH, we actually pick these up very quickly, because we actually look for patterns of alerts across batches of products. So we can see pretty quickly, pretty much on the day, if we're seeing alerts across the board, and we'll contact the NIH directly and ask them to get that data uploaded. And once you see that's happened, then you can scan the pack again and go ahead and supply it. Contact IMVO if you need support at any time. And I know, you know, as locums, you may be working in the evenings and at the weekends, and you may be glad to know that we actually do have our first line service desk is available 8 to 8 weekdays, 9 to 6 on Saturdays, and 11 to 6 on Sundays and public holidays. Now, we do need to flag that there may be a limit to how much support we can provide out of hours, out of the standard business hours, because, for example, if we need to contact an MAH, we may simply not be able to get in touch with them at that time of the night. But certainly for simple queries, our service desk is equipped to deal with those, so please do feel free to contact them or have a look at our website. Next slide, please. And we're giving you there some contact details, including phone numbers, etc., etc. And that's basically it. So we move on to the questions and answers now. I see one hand up